Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things we're talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Glad you could be here. Let's jump over to our cosmic weather today, see what we're dealing with. Right over here we have the 28th of October. So we have two signs. We're between Leo and Virgo, fire sign and earth sign. We're making that transition. The transition takes place tonight at 10:45 p.m. So at the moment we are in a fire sign creativity and words to the creativity we express. Righteousness is the idea of learning how to send that energy through our heart space first, because that is where the center of love is. All right, so that's what we're dealing with today. Our sun sign is Scorpio as well, which is water, emotions, feelings. All right, so we're dealing with water and fire underneath. Make sure that the fire and the water the fire doesn't get put out by the water. The water doesn't turn the fire to steam, water to steam. All right. And let me move on here to the moon phase. The moon phase 35% of the way full, making its way down to a new moon. Here we have an 11-tone day. Okay, spectral mirror, guided by the mirror. Phrase for today is I dissolve in order to reflect, releasing order. I seal the matrix of endlessness with the spectral tone of liberation. I am guided by my own power doubled. Spaceweather.com, we had some other solar flare activity, so we have a little energy in the air. Today, the solar wind currently is at 277.4 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index is 1. Between 0 and 1, we don't see much in the way of coronal holes. And our M-class fire possibility is up to 65% right now. X-class is at 35, so chances of something going on are up there to some degree or another. And geomagnetic storm activity, we have 50% activity in the mid-latitudes and high latitudes, 25% chance in the severe. Here we go over to our suspicious observers report for today. Here we go. Momentarily, I forgot to set something up here. Make sure it's right. There we go. Okay, now here we go.
Good morning, folks. Let's begin with the recap, looking back at the Colorado floods from September. Good day-by-day and accumulation report here showing just why things got so bad. The topic complements Nature's Freight Train. Article here about the destructive force of mud, debris, and biological life swept by floods after a deluge hits a burn scar from wildfires. This article is a top recommendation. Also, folks, this is an ISON photo by Tom K. He has joined Gary and Whitmer, aiding those of us who want to actually learn something and track the progression of this comet. As always, check their site daily. It's linked below. Bruce, your emails are well received and appreciated. Trust me, all of us love you. Government shutdown meant the state of the climate for September slipped through my fingers. It's mostly a precipitation report, but worth taking a peek back even as we are at the end of October now. Sticking with weather, UK now knows I wasn't kidding about that cresting low pressure. Damage can be found all over, and we have one dead already, as a child is believed to have drowned and swept away in strong currents. I am most worried today about the southern tail to that leading east convergence as it crosses the main continent. For the first time in days, the entire Indian coastline is not covered in storms. Flood damage is done though. Meanwhile, south of that we see our first southern cyclone having hit a wall and refusing to come any further west. Suppose that's not really a bad thing. How long has it been since this much rain happened in northern Australia? Apart from some coastal showers, those high-pressure cells have dominated this region for a while. New Zealand will see some coalesced remains later in the week. Onto the Americas, where we begin in the Pacific with that megalo pounding the coastline near Alaska. Now, much of that moisture is left up in Canada and is dusting parts of the nation now, but a good bit is funneled southward by the clockwise high pressure, gets to the Rockies where it's meeting warm, moist air driven mostly from the East Pacific and a bit even perhaps from the Gulf. What you end up with is a severe watch at the most stark convergence of differing air masses, and just about everywhere the energy doesn't match up, you're cold enough for snow. Quickly on to space weather. Muon density nearly pushing 102. Those are relatively high levels. We have our first distinctly recognizable interplanetary shock of the bunch. It was an almost denseless CME, but ramped the speed and plasma temperature sure enough. No geomagnetic instability from this little solar love tap or any of the others allegedly on the way. All we do have is continued high energy proton instability. However, that's more likely due to the flaring, not the incoming CMEs. We took another X flare this morning, and a double M5 sunspot flare event. Both came from the departing groups, finally showing signs of life after letting the new guys take over days ago. What a good way to say goodbye, with that double M blast likely creating the larger CME. NASA's endless spiral shows potential glancing blow. It is indeed frustrating without the SDO website, but HelioViewer is working. So is the Gong H Alpha, which is actually the only real-time solar scope not owned by private individuals. SXI is online as well. The only thing you really can't replace is the sunspot classifications. There is simply nothing that comes close to a colorized magnetogram lined up with the visual spectrum of an intensitygram. This is what we settle for given the lack of proper classification tools. The other thing we still have is IRIS. Still giving us just the slit jaw images, but they are hopefully still planning on releasing the better shots here soon. Something else. With their last public image from the 24th, I wonder where all the shots of those recent bigger solar flares are. You guys aren't editing out electrical discharges and things like that, are you? Shots of our star to close? Eyes open. No fear, it's 6:55 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
Alright, very good. Alright, last week I said that I was going to play something for you by Aaron Russo, and so today is that day. I have the first part of, it's called Reflections and Warnings. Aaron Russo did a series of interviews. He did a series of talks called Mad as Hell, in which political talks. He made a movie. His last movie was about the IRS, called America from Freedom to Fascism. So I'll get to that over the course of this week, but I want to explore things that Aaron Russo had said and what he's about. So I think you're going to enjoy this. If you don't know who Aaron Russo is, today you're going to find out. Alright, this is part one. This is from Reflections and Warnings. Aaron Russo. He was talking with Alex Jones in this piece.
You rolling? What happened on 9/11 is a phony, and we've never learned the truth about 9/11. The whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips. And this is giving me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about? We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib. They do whatever they want to do. What we want doesn't matter anymore. It's their agenda, it's their plans that matter. They have all the money they want. They can make all the money they want. They have a machine that can make all the money. It's not about money. It's about control. It's about their vision of how they want to see the world. You hear George Bush saying democracy means freedom. No. Democracy equals New World Order. I believe God put me on this earth to be the best person I could be, and put everybody on this earth to be the best they can be. You have to stand up for what's right in life. And unless you do that, you're nothing.
Award-winning filmmaker turned freedom fighter, Aaron Russo was an amazing individual. You know, he'd been battling cancer for more than 3.5 years when he began making America Freedom to Fascism, that he shot, directed, edited, pretty much on his own with just the help of a few people. An amazing individual. A long life of award-winning films, of hard work, and for standing up for the Bill of Rights and Constitution. You know, when we first went and shot this interview, I put it out on the web for free, but parts of it have never been seen. So here today, you're going to have a chance to see the in-depth interview, the final interview with Aaron Russo. But his important work lives on. You know, he made one of the definitive films exposing the elite that control this nation and the world, the private Federal Reserve. And the information he put out 2 years ago rings more true today than ever. And his film, America Freedom to Fascism, and Mad as Hell, and the other great works he did just continue like ripples in a pond to light bushfires in the minds of men and women everywhere. So this film is dedicated to the one, the only, Aaron Russo.
You rolling? I'm honored to be interviewed by Alex Jones, a truth seeker, fighting for justice in America.
He's charming me. It's getting me all smiling.
Aaron, when did you start to think something was wrong in the world, or start to find out about the whole banking cartel and the Federal Reserve System, the New World Order?
Well, that was a progression of events. I've always been a very independent person, always believed in individuality, and that we were put on this earth to be unique individuals to fulfill our God-given potential, and that the only way to fulfill your potential is to be free, to find out who you are, and to make your errors, to make mistakes. And as I grew up, I began to realize more and more the government was inhibiting me in things that I wanted to do. And what happened, I was very successful in the ladies' lingerie business. I worked for my dad. He had a small undergarment business, and I created the first ladies' bikini panties back in 1963, actually. And then I opened up a nightclub in Chicago called the Electric Theater that opened up the day Martin Luther King was assassinated. Right? And so the city of Chicago was in flames the day my club opened, and nobody came out to the club. And well, what happened was that that was the year of the Democratic Convention in Chicago in '68. And so my club became a hangout for the hippies, you know, and because they wanted to go to Chicago and protest what was going on. And I was having a concert at my club one night to raise money, and the police raided the nightclub, my club, for no reason at all. And I was standing outside in my office overlooking the street, and I saw all these paddy wagons pulling up in front of my club. And I was a 24-year-old kid. You know, I had no experience at all, really. So what are these paddy wagons doing here? And then I saw all these cops getting out of the paddy wagons coming into my club. I said, oh my God, they're raiding me. And so I ran down to the stage, and I got on the stage, and I stopped the band from playing. And I said to the people in the audience, we're being raided, you know, so sit down on the floor, cooperate, and plot your identification and cooperate with the police. And as I said that, two of the cops from behind threw me onto the floor and grabbed me and started dragging me out of the club. I'm going, you know, victory, victory, you know, I'm playing it for all it was worth at the time. I was a kid. And then I saw the fire department there, and the fire department was dumping garbage cans, the garbage all over the floor. And I thought to myself, well, why are they doing that? You know, very quickly as they were dragging me out. And I didn't quite understand it. So they threw me into the paddy wagon. As I got into the paddy wagon, one of the cops grabbed my testicles from behind and squeezed, and I went into the paddy wagon in gigantic pain. And the next person that came into the paddy wagon, the cop, as he was stepping in, the cop took the billy club, smashed him on the head with it, and just split his skull, you know, for no reason. I mean, there was nothing wrong.
So that was kind of your wake-up.
That was my awakening. Like, what is going on? I thought this was America. So I initially blamed it on Chicago and made a daily thing. It was just that it was Chicago. And anyway, it was the headlines of the newspapers the next day. You know, there was my picture in the newspapers, the headlines, Electric Theater short-circuited, it was raided. And in the article, they went ahead and they said that the reason they raided the club was because the fire department came there and saw it was messy, full of garbage, and the hippies started attacking them, which was totally not true.
Those dirty hippies.
It was totally false. It was a complete fabrication.
So they ran a false flag on you. They framed you.
Yeah, of course. And I was in shock. I said, people lie like that? People actually do these things? I couldn't believe it. It was like, it was an awakening to me. And I went on television. I told people on television that they lied. Nobody cared. Nobody cared what the truth was. It was shocking to me. And then a week or 2 weeks later, I forget exactly what it was, two cops come to see me, a lieutenant and a sergeant, a captain and a sergeant. And they said, Mr. Russo, we're sorry if you got hurt that night at the club in the raid, but we're here to tell you that if you want to keep the club open, it's going to take $2,000 a month, and we're going to come see you once a month, and whenever we have to raid you, we're going to call you, and we'll let you know we're going to come in tonight and raid you.
This was mafia.
Well, the police mafia,
Yeah.
And actually, it was actually more interesting than that. They said, listen, there's the A plan, there's the B plan, and there's the super deluxe plan. And this one, of course, each one will cost you that much money a month. Which one do you want?
What was the super deluxe?
That's the one I took. That was a $2,000 a month plan. And I took that plan, and I paid them $2,000 a month, and they left me alone. And whenever they were going to raid the club, they would come there, we're going to have a phony raid tonight, just to look good for the people in the neighborhood,
So that was your first big education?
That was my education into corruption in government, but I really thought that was basically Chicago. I didn't realize it was the whole country was like that. And so that was my wake-up call, that people lie and cheat and steal. And I thought everybody was always honest and nice and decent, and I had no idea about any of these things. Well, what happened with me was that they finally one day they came to me, and they said, look, we can't take your money anymore. I said, why, what's up? What's going on? I said, we have to close your club. There's elections coming, and the aldermen in the neighborhood don't want you open anymore. So we can't take your money. So I had to go to court and fight them, and they were trying to close the club. And then one night there was a fire, and the club never reopened again. The club just closed, and that was the end of the club. And they burned me down. And that was the end of my experience. And then I moved back to New York, where I met Bette Midler, and I ran into her at a little nightclub she was playing called the Improv, and I thought she was fabulous. And through a series of events, I began managing her. And as soon as I started managing her, her career took off like a rocket. It was just fortuitous, I guess. And we became very, very successful. And through managing Bette, I started producing shows on Broadway where I won the Tony, and I produced a television show where I won the Emmy with Dustin Hoffman and Bette, and then I produced The Rose for her, where she got Academy Award nominations. And then that led me to producing Trading Places, which everybody knows.
I think it's the best Eddie Murphy movie.
Well, it's a good one. I don't know if it's the best, but it's a really good one. And I'm very proud I made that movie. And so in my mind, I feel as if I've made a classic comedy in Trading Places, a classic musical in The Rose, and a classic documentary in Freedom to Fascism. So I'm very proud of my work that I've done as a filmmaker.
Aaron, why do you do this? What's the philosophy of your life? What do you think life's all about?
I think the importance of life is to like yourself. If you don't like yourself, nothing means anything. To like yourself means you have to respect yourself. To respect yourself means you have to take actions that you respect if somebody else did them. And what's the point of living if you don't like who you are? You can have all the money in the world, and if you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see there, what's the point of it? So to me, the most important thing is that I like who I am, and that I take actions that I would respect if somebody else did them. That you live a life of character, honesty, truthfulness, and I believe that a person has the ability to mold their character like a sculptor molds a piece of clay. Now, there's no saying that leopard never changes its spots. I don't believe that. I believe people have the total ability to mold their character.
All right, so I'll get more to Aaron Russo over the course of this week, but that's a good start. And UFO news is up next. Stay tuned.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Today, I have 8 stories. Story number 1 is from Dallas, Texas. This was on the 18th. It said, my son and I had just gotten out of the car and were heading inside when we have this habit of staring up into the sky at night, sometimes because we've been interested in the whole UFO thing. He said he saw it and said, hey mom, look at that. I looked up and assumed it was just a passenger plane. Even though the 2 nearest airports are quite a ways from where we are, we just sort of brushed it off and went inside. Even though I had never seen one of those lights in the airplane before, we continued inside. It wasn't until Sunday when I got on Facebook and saw the posting that I flashed back what we saw. Then I realized that what we had saw was absolutely no sound. If my son hadn't noticed it, we never would have seen it. And I realized it was flying awfully low and far from the nearest airport. If we had to measure the distance from the ground, or it was, I guess I would say, about 15 stories high. It had been raining a couple of days prior to that, and it was really cloudy. We could see the formation of lights that flashed a bit. It flashed a bit and stopped through the clouds as it flew moderate. We watched only for about 20 or 30 seconds. It quietly flew over my apartment complex, and I can't believe no one else saw it. There was no wind that night, and I am in the northern part of Dallas, and the pic was taken in Oak Cliff, which is in the southish. So it flew north to south. According to whoever posted the pic on Facebook, it was taken a little before or after around 8 p.m. My son and I got out of the car around 8:10, headed inside, so I'm guessing this was the same object. Only lights in a circular pattern. There's the picture right there. It's a pretty awesome picture. And if you're looking up into that part of the sky, and if you're looking up into this part of the sky and you've got nothing here, then definitely fits the UFO. Alright, next one right here. This is up by the sun. Got a cylindrical object right here. Other little ones. There are not just UFOs hovering in place near our sun, but are massive Earth-sized UFOs that make sharp right-angle moves at impossible speeds. So say the Russian scientists who first discovered these UFOs several years ago. Today we see them, and we never even once has NASA addressed the issue of these UFOs. How they move so fast, or how they can make such incredible right-angle turns, let alone how they do it so close to the sun without being destroyed. Alright, so again, many things up by the sun. We've seen them quite frequently. Moving on. Next we have up by the moon, and again we have a cylindrical one. So is this the same one? Don't know. Well, this was taken from Apollo 9, so not the same ones, but similar looking. UFOs that were over 2 to 3 kilometers long have been seen reported by pilots and other eyewitnesses. I myself have reported UFOs on the moon's surface that were about 10 kilometers across in comparison with the nearby crater whose diameter is known. Here again are 3 UFOs, long and giant in size, flying past the moon and recorded by none other than NASA. It's a glitch, a scratch, cheap lens on your scope. Sorry boys, NASA buys only the best quality and high performance parts for its observations. But thank you for playing. Alright. So there you go. That's up by the moon. This was from their Apollo photos. Apollo 9. Alright, now we got over the Temple of Poseidon in Greece. This is a UFO website. Xfiles.gr sends us a link of a recent UFO photograph they received taken over the Temple of Poseidon at Cape Sounion. It was given to them by a man who wished to remain anonymous this past Saturday. The witness, who X-Files referred to as Mr. X, says he and his wife spent half an hour taking 40 to 50 pictures of the temple. They did not notice anything strange. However, once Mr. X noticed something in one of the pictures. When he zoomed in on the object, he could not identify what the strange object was. The object could not be seen in any other pictures, even those taken seconds before or after. Other instances in which the object was not noticed when the picture was taken, but is seen in the image of the picture after being reviewed later. The object is a bird or insect that looks strange due to the motion blur. However, Mr. X believes the object is too large to be a bird or insect. There is also no apparent motion blur. Alright, here's the variety of pictures, and there's the one where he has the object in it right there. Okay. It's over the Temple of Poseidon. Next, we go over to Slovakia. This is strange UFO activity over Pezinok, a city in southwestern Slovakia, was taken on the 27th of October, and you can see there's a whole bunch of them here. Just are these the stars here? These are the stars. Let's see what's going on here. Scouring the skies looking for the flying saucers. There we go. Okay, it's moving right here. Moving at a good speed. Okay, it's over Slovakia. Let's move on from there. This is a story that goes back to 1973. It says the day in history, October 28th, man encounters aliens along road while changing tire. On Sunday the 28th, 1973, in the first hour of the morning, truck driver Dionyso Lianca had a fantastic experience. Dionyso, a calm and quiet bachelor, arrived at the hospital in Baja Blanca in the state of total amnesia. 3 days later, he had regained his memory and related the extraordinary experience. A night encounter on Route H3 with the flying saucer and beings that talked with Chilitos, who took a sample of his blood. Dionyso Lianca got up late Saturday, 27th of October, and put on his old pants, shirt, and dark sweater and lounged around the modest painted cottage in Calle Chubbed, only 10 minutes from the center of Baja Blanca. He ate lunch early and napped during the siesta period because he would have been driving all night long. He rose about 6 p.m. and watched television serial, which should have been noted was realistic and direct and without fantastic elements. About 10 p.m., he ate dinner, beef, salad, 2 glasses of sapita, non-alcoholic beverage, and his uncle Enrique Ruiz a few minutes later after midnight said goodbye to his uncle and got into his truck, a Dodge 600 loaded with construction material to be delivered to Rio Gallegos, a 2-day trip. After 12 years of driving, the eyes become accustomed to observing conditions. Even in the shadow of the street, he discovered that the night rear tire was low. He had a mind to change it, but decided to leave instead. When he left the house, it was 12:30. Sunday had already begun. The truck began to roll down Route number 3. The tire got lower, and there was nothing to change it. But he regretted not having changed it at the ESS station at Calle Don Bosco, where he stopped 15 minutes to 1 to get gasoline. Now, he would have to get out of dark and desolate shoulder in the cold of morning change. It was now 1:15, and he was removing tools, wrenches, and a jack with no one to help. He began changing the tire. I braked the truck on. The soldier got down, took out the jack and the tools, and began to change the tire. The road was completely deserted. All at once, the road was illuminated by an intense yellow light that seemed to be about 200 meters distant. Because of the color, I thought that it might have been the headlights of a Peugeot, and continued with my work. A few seconds passed, and I had my shoulder to the light because it became so bright that it lighted the whole area. Now the light had changed to a bluish color similar to an electric arc welder. I tried to get up but could not rise. I had no strength, and a strange thing, my legs would not respond. I was on my knees. I wanted to get up and look towards the woods that grew alongside the road. Then I saw a great thing in the form of a plate suspended in the air at some 7 meters altitude, and 3 persons at my shoulders looking at me. I tried at once to get up but could not. The paralysis became total, and I could not even talk. The 3 beings stood looking at me for a long time, perhaps 5 minutes. There were 2 men and a woman. The woman was between the 2 men. I believe it was a woman because of the form of the breast and the long hair, blonde, reaching to the middle of the shoulders. The men were also blonde with shorter hair in the back. The 3 were about the same height, 1 meter and 70 or 75 centimeters, and dressed in the same manner, single-piece smoky gray coverall suits well fitted to the figure. Yellow boots, long gloves reaching to the middle of the arm are the same color. They had no belts, nor weapons, nor helmets or anything. Their faces were like ours, except for high foreheads and elongated eyes, like the Japanese, and a little tilted. They talked among themselves in a language impossible for me to understand, but they had no vocal inflections, but sounded like a radio, badly tuned with the chips and buzzes. One of them grabbed me by the neck of my sweater and lifted me firmly, but without violence. I tried to talk, but my voice would not come out. While the one held me up, another put an apparatus to the base of my index finger on the left hand. They looked closely at the apparatus. It was like a razor, but had a small tube. They applied it to me for several seconds. It did not hurt. When they had left, it left 2 drops of blood on my finger. I believe I then passed out and became extreme because I can remember nothing else. He could not remember when he woke. This time is calculated to be between 2 to 3 a.m. on Sunday. When he opened his eyes, he was among the rail cars in the yard of the Sociedad Rural de Baja Blanca, exactly 9 kilometers or 600 meters from the point where the encounter took place. He could remember nothing, not even his name, nor the episode, nor the truck, nor his home. He was nauseated and cold. He began walking towards the road by the lights of the vehicle. Okay, so there's a lot more to the story here. Very interesting indeed. It's a little rendition of what he had seen. All right, and one last story right here. This is the Peru Air Force reopens UFO investigation. Department, Washington Air Force is reopening an office that is responsible for probing UFOs because of their high sightings of anomalous aerial phenomena in the skies of the country. Colonel Julio Vustich, head of the Air Force Aerospace Interest Division, told The Guardian that the Department of Investigation of Anomalous and Paranormal Phenomena was created in 2001 but has lain dormant for the past 5 years. The new office will bring together sociologists, archaeologists, astronomers, meteorologists, and Air Force personnel to analyze these events. He said many people don't report UFO sightings, fearing they will be labeled mad or made fun of. But nowadays, with new technology, cell phone videos, Facebook, Twitter, they can be much more open without feeling that they are the only ones who have seen what they have seen. All right, that is our UFO news. Let me jump away. I got a bunch more other stories, so stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments.
All right, continuing on. This next story here is dealing with Obamacare. Comes from the LA Times. It says more legal trouble for the Affordable Care Act. If computer glitches are not enough of a problem, President Obama's healthcare law also has a legal glitch that critics say could cause it to unravel in more than half the nation. The Affordable Care Act proposes to make health insurance affordable to millions of low-income Americans by offering them tax credits to help cover the cost. To receive the credit, the law says they must buy insurance through an exchange established by the state. But 36 states have decided against opening exchanges for now. Although the law permits the federal governments to open exchanges instead, it does not say tax credits may be given to those who buy insurance through the federal-run exchange. Apparently, no one noticed this when the long and complicated bill worked its way through the House and Senate last year. However, the IRS tried to remedy it by putting out the regulation that redefined exchange to include federally facilitated exchange. This is consistent with the language, purpose, and structure of the Act of the Whole, the Treasury Department said. But critics of the law have seized on the glitch. They have filed 4 lawsuits that urge judges to rule the Obama administration must abide by the strict wording of the law, even if doing so dismantles it nearly 2/3 of the states, and the Obama administration has no hope of repairing the glitch by legislation as long as the Republicans control the House. So we could see more problems going on with Obamacare, and I'm sure we're going to hear more yet because it's just one big mess. You know, it seems to be that has nothing to do with healthcare. It seems to be about a power grab, something completely different than what people think it is. But many people are still buying in hook, line, and sinker. However, they're not really signing up, so I don't know what the deal's going on with that. All right, haven't heard from Brother Nathaniel in a while, so today is the day to remedy that. Here he is, Brother Nathaniel.
3 new social classes have emerged in America, shaping its political, economic, and cultural future. The affluent Jewish class, the crushed Gentile middle class, and the ill-omened college grad class. Topping this 3-tiered stratum is the affluent Jewish class, whose iconic omnipresence pummels us into compliance with their overarching agenda. Bloomberg, Feinstein, Schumer with their gun control agenda. Bernanke, Yellen, Blankfein with their transfer of wealth agenda. Foxman, Shapiro, Wiesel with their homosexual, anti-Christian, and worship of the Jewish dead agenda. Second down the ladder in our newly emerged social stratum is the crushed Gentile middle class, which once enjoyed prosperity in our former industrialized society. But ever since Jewish Wall Street started sending white and blue-collar jobs to China and India, the Gentiles have been pulverized into near-poverty conditions. James Wolfenson, Jewish former head of the World Bank, makes no apologies for helping to bring this to pass.
By 2030, the estimate now is that there will be 3 billion people in the middle class, and of that 3 billion, 2/3 of it will be in Asia.
That's right. Those who once enjoyed high-paying middle-class jobs as IT pros, R&D specialists, engineers, and factory personnel have been replaced by cheap Chinese and Indian labor. And at the bottom of the ladder is the ill-omened college grad class.
From the time an American child reaches the 6th grade, they are taught that if they get into a great college and get their college degree, any type of job they desire in the field of their choice will be there waiting for them. After getting their dream job, they will be able to buy any car and house they desire, start their own family, and live the American dream.
Nothing's waiting for them. There's no jobs. PhDs are on food stamps and engineers are working as janitors. How about an MBA? You're working as a bank teller, or if you're lucky, as a bartender with just enough tips to get you by. You're living with 12 other grads in a 5-room house or back home with your parents. Marriage and children? Forget it. You're already $70,000 in student loan debt with no way out. The future is with the affluent Jewish class. They rule. They prosper. They shape events. It's a Jewish age, proclaimed historian Yuri Slezkine in his acclaimed The Jewish Century. If you're a Gentile, good luck. Maybe you'll get a job with Goldman Sachs, but don't count on it unless your name begins with Chang or Sharik. Your century passed you by a long time ago when the church was strong and the synagogue was weak. Unless the church becomes strong again, you don't have a chance. Will we have a Christian America or a Jewish America? That's up to you.
All right. Always wise words, interesting analysis. Now, police officers, we understand that you're under a lot of pressure. We understand that there's decisions that you're going to have to make that you're probably not going to like. And certainly the American people aren't going to like the decisions that you make either, because it is affecting them. Here's a picture of a situation that occurred. This gentleman in here is an innocent person, not involved with the crime at hand. However, this is a checkpoint. Fallujah-style security comes to Sacramento. Look at that. After a gang member shot and injured several law enforcement officials before going into hiding, a Sacramento suburb on Friday, police responded by setting up a checkpoint and aiming guns at innocent people's heads. The photo right here is from the California Bee is captioned, a California Highway Patrol and another emergency responder stopped a vehicle at a checkpoint near the neighborhood where the federal immigration officer was shot by 3 local police officers and wounded during a violent confrontation with the suspect in the Sacramento suburb of Roseville on Friday. After the hour-long standoff, the suspect, 32-year-old gang member Samuel Nathan Duran, eventually surrendered after leaving a nearby house in which he had been holed up. The felon responsible for the shootings was wanted for parole. Anyway, the bottom of this is, you got this. This is the big point of this picture, folks. This officer is pointing a loaded gun at this man. We hear stories about officers being corrupt. This is really like terrorist activity. This is horrible. Horrible, horrible example. Yet, this is what Americans are being conditioned to do, except guns being pointed at them. I can understand the officer being concerned, walking up to the car, having a gun ready, but to have it pointed at the person, officers, I'm telling you, you're being put in a really bad situation. The fear is running rampant with your organization. You're not turning into bad guys, and look what you're doing to the people. Eventually, the people are going to turn on you. And when they turn on you, either they are going to physically turn on you, which I hope is not going to happen because that could get bloody and ugly, or they're going to mentally turn on you, which means no one is going to be there to help you when you need help. because they're going to realize that you're not their friend. And by the time you realize you were on the wrong side, guess what? You will have alienated yourself from so many Americans that you're going to be on your own. And you're not going to like that, because then you're going to have to be left alone to fend for your family and your friends all by yourself. Don't turn your back against the people. This is stupid. What are you doing? Why are you allowing yourself to be played that way? You got to be smarter than that, guys and girls. You got to be a lot smarter than that, because you're being played. Being played. All right, here is Charlie McGrath. Let's hear what he has to say.
Talk to Charlie McGrath from Wide Awake News a little bit more about this. Hey there, Charlie. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
What do you make of this denial? How much does he not know that's taking place within the NSA?
Well, a great question. It could be a lot. I mean, you know, our NSA, our security industrial complex, our security state, our alphabet agencies that are watching the people of this country and the world, they've seemed to take on a life of their own. I find it hard to believe that the President of the United States doesn't understand who. It's terrifying if it is true that our president and our Congress has no idea who the NSA and all these other alphabet spy agencies are listening to, tracking, monitoring, including the American people, let alone, you know, scores of leaders around the world. So the president coming out and say he didn't understand, well, that's terrifying in and of itself, the statement alone.
Well, as our correspondent reported, you know, people are out on the streets. They're outraged about what's going on. They want to get their voices heard. Do you actually think that they will be heard on Capitol Hill, or will their voices be ignored?
Well, if the Patriot Act, this 12-year anniversary, and the implementation of it has taught us anything, it's that the people will not be heard. We've had a complete destruction of a constitutional republic in this country, just like Benjamin Franklin all those years ago warned the people of the United States. If you're going to trade your freedom for safety, you're going to end up with neither. God bless the people of Stop Watching Us U.S. or Stop Watching Us rally. I'm glad they're out there doing it. I'm glad they got 500,000 signatures. But we need 100 million, 200, 300 million people to wake up and realize that we've turned into a Stasi-style police state. And Congress, it seems to be interested in nothing more than collecting the revenue that they need in order to maintain their positions of power by the same military and security industrial complex that is watching the people of this country and the world illegally.
So essentially what you're saying is, for this movement to actually be heard, it's got to at least gain the momentum minimally of an Occupy Wall Street to actually gain ground and make significant changes. Is that right?
I believe that. I believe that's 100% correct. I don't think the 535-member body of Congress is looking out for the American people. We need to wake up and realize that we're losing our freedom at a rapid pace every day with legislation like the Patriot Act and everything that has come since then.
Well, as you know, you had mentioned earlier, this rally coincides with the signing of the Patriot Act. How has post 9/11 security really benefited the United States in what you've seen in your time as a journalist since 9/11?
It's not benefited the American people. It's not benefited freedom or sovereign nations on this planet one bit. You know, they placate us with platitudes from Washington, D.C. that we're a safer world, but we're not. We've destabilized the world. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have died in the name of prosecuting a war on terror, and we've lost our freedom in this country. We've lost our freedom. You can't, as Edward Snowden's statement said today that was read at this rally, there's not an email that you can send. There's not a telephone call that you can make. There is nothing that you can be done electronically that isn't being filtered through some billion-dollar NSA fusion center. So, you know, the results of the Patriot Act, I believe personally, and I think a lot of people in this community and independent media believe the same thing, isn't resulting in a freer world and the spreading of democracy around this world. It's resulting, the result has been a global effort to put the hands and the power of surveillance in the hands of very, very few. And it's terrifying, and we need to wake up to it.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Charlie McGrath, founder of Wide Awake News. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
All right, so we need to keep standing up. Yes, it's great. Some people are. We need more. Everybody. There's 300 million Americans in this country that could stand up. We should have a lot more than a small handful that are taking charge. All right, pulsating in western and expanding western sky UFO. Okay, this is the object in the western sky. This is the updates. I have been documenting the UFO in the western sky And tonight I captured the UFO pulsating and expanding while changing colors and shapes. At the end of the video it slowed down 4 times to allow the viewer to see the changing colors and shapes of this UFO. I have clearly documented it is not Arcturus, Venus, Jupiter, Antares, Mars, or Saturn, or is it a satellite, comet, or asteroid. If you look at Solarium or the cell phone app, Sky, you will not find anything in this area. Okay? There's the Venus, there's the object where it is. Alright, let's just take a look at what some of the recent is from the 26th. Alright, there's our object in question. Now that's out there every night. You can see this. You can easily see this every night. Go out just before it gets dark. Just before it gets dark and you will see this thing, okay? And it's there and it's bright, and if you try to film it, it has different colors to it. So check it out. See what you think. The link's available, firstcontactradio.com. Alright, I want to get onto this piece here because I know some of you are interested. You talked to me about Drundalo Melchizedek and the Merkaba. He also, the Flower of Life. Anyway, here we go. At the return of the Atlantis conference, I met a fascinating 84-year-old man who has activated his light body by doing the following Merkaba meditation. Below the instructions, you will find a guided meditation for this. It's by Drundalo Melchizedek. Like the sun, we must breathe, radiating out to all life, and from all life we will receive our mana. Begin by creating a place in your home that is used only for this meditation. Make a space where no one will walk through or disturb you, possibly in your bedroom. A small altar with a candle and a cushion or pillow to sit on. Upon this may be helpful. Make this place holy. It is here where you will learn to create the Merkaba around your body and make conscious contact with your higher self. Once each day, enter into this meditation until the time comes when you are a conscious breather, remembering each breath you initiate connection with God. To begin the meditation, first sit down and relax. Let the worries of the day go. Breathe rhythmically and shallow. Be aware of your breath and relax. When you feel the tension begin to fade, begin to open your heart. Feel love. Feel love for all, life everywhere. Continue to breathe rhythmically, being aware of your breath, and feel the love moving through you. When the feeling of love is in your beingness, you are ready to begin to move towards the experience of the Merkaba. It says, without this love, there is no amount of knowledge that will create the Merkaba. To the degree you're able to love, to the degree you're able to experience the Merkaba. Okay? It says the Merkaba is a permanent and highly ordered Merkabic structure of interconnected electromagnetic counter-rotating energy spirals that exist as an integral part of all creation. The following is an overview of the meditation to reach the Merkaba. There are 7 breaths in each completion. The first 6 are for balancing of the polarities within your 8 electrical circuits, also for the cleansing of these circuits. The next 7, which are quite different, are to reestablish the proper pranic flow of your body and to re-energize or recreate spherical breathing within your body. The 14th breath is unique unto itself. It changes the balance of pranic energy within your body from 3rd dimensional to 4th dimensional awareness. The last 3 breaths create the rotating fields of the Merkaba within and around your body. And here's the instructions. It says, first breath, inhale. Heart, open the heart, feel the love of life. Become aware with your mind of the male tetrahedron. The apex is facing up from the sun, the face pointing to the front of the male, to the point for the back of its females, filled with brilliant white light surrounding your body. Visualize it as best as you can. Then, at the same moment of inhalation, place your hands in the mudra of your thumb, the first finger touching. Remember, lightly touch your fingers. Do not allow your fingers to touch each other or any other object. Keep your palms facing up. At this moment, when the lungs empty, begin to breathe in a complete yogic manner. Breathe through your nostrils only, except at a certain places which will be described. Simply put your breath from your stomach first, then your diaphragm, and finally your chest. Do this in one movement, not three parts. The exhale is completed either by holding the chest firm and relaxing the stomach, slowly releasing the air, or by holding the stomach firm and relaxing the chest. The most important aspect is the breathing be rhythmic. Begin by using 7 seconds in, 7 seconds out. As you get familiar with this meditation, find your own rhythm. Following instructions for a complete yogi breath are from the Hindu Yogi Science of Breath by Yogi Ram Chakraki. Perhaps this description will be helpful. Breathing through the nostrils, inhale steadily, first filling the lower part of the lungs, which is accomplished by bringing into play the diaphragm, which is descending. Experts a gentle pressure on the abdominal organs, pushing forward from the front walls of the abdomen. Then fill the middle part of the lungs, pushing out the lower ribs, breastbone, and chest. Then fill the higher portion of the lungs, protruding the upper chest, thus lifting the chest, including the upper 6 or 7 pairs of ribs. At first reading, it may appear the breath consists of 3 distinct movements. However, this is not the correct idea. The inhalation is continuous. The entire chest cavity from the lower diaphragm to the highest part of the chest is the region of the collarbone is being expanded with uniform movement. Okay, so you want to exhale. I'm going to skip down here. Then you go to the second breath, third breath, fourth breath. So we got 7 breaths here. All right. Now I'm going to leave this for you. There's a lot there to read and study, to look through. I'm going to do exactly that, and we'll revisit this. Okay. But you check it out. I'll check it out, and then we'll revisit this maybe in a couple days. In the meantime, let's go over to this message for today. This is Archangel Michael.
Archangel Michael, you are flying along magnificently.
Channeled by Ronhead, October 25, 2013.
Seeing angels, Michael.
We wish to return today to one of our favorite topics, the phenomenon of channeled messages. You will have noticed a distinct change in the type, clarity, and, even in some instances, the sources of these. What has changed? Have you given it any thought? More than a few of those involved in bringing these messages to you have done so. We bring this up today to illustrate a different but related point. So we will spend a little time explaining, and then we will connect the dots, as you say. The changes that these messengers are experiencing are surprising even themselves, as they become filled with information that they find more detailed, wording and tone that they have not previously had access to, and in some cases an entirely new feel to the energies surrounding them. This reflects exactly what we have so often discussed for quite some time now. It reflects precisely the change in the energies surrounding them and surrounding all of you. It also reflects the changes in your abilities to sense these energies, although they might be a bit more practiced than others in doing so. It reflects the ability of yourselves to contain more of the energy of your own higher selves, which we capitalize in order only to distinguish that of which we speak. For the purpose of illustration, we speak of self and self. And that does not seem odd to you, perhaps. But please realize that our goal, your goal, is the realization of no difference between the two. And there, dear ones, we have just connected the dots. What you may have noticed in the evolution of the channeled messages is a reflection of the changes in the channelers and also in yourselves. Are you there yet? The answer will always be no. And the answer will also always be yes, you are more there today than ever before. This is a journey, dear family. And you are flying along magnificently. As each of you learn a portion, remember a portion, feel a portion, so does it change each and all of you. And these changes radiate outwards into the all. As you continue to do the work, as you term it, we will continue to ensure that you receive all of the support appropriate to where you are. That is our function, and as we have said, our joy. Take joy in this yourselves, brother angels, sister angels. Close your eyes and see what a magnificent world you are building. Accept our love now as we bid you good day.
Alright, very nice message. And let's see what our angel message is for today. The message is: we are assisting you now in your relationships, especially with regard to romance. Open your heart and let the love flow. That's good. We all could use some love in the areas of romance in our lives. Very nice. So as we go into our meditation today, one of the things I'd like to just address is our energy. There's a lot going on in the world. A lot of changes taking place in the world that we are all being affected by. Our energy fields are being challenged, and things seem to be speeding up, and I know there's a tendency to want to speed up with it, to be supercharged. And that's good to some degree, but we also have to be able to take that energy and find a way to really channel it and make it useful. And that's where the grounding part comes in. If you think of just the basics of electricity, all electricity has a grounding circuit. Something grounds itself so that energy can be usable. Because otherwise, if the energy is just running around and you can't bring it down into usable form, then it's just going to be a frustrating situation. So what we want to learn how to do is to take that energy that's flowing through us and make it usable. To take what's up here and bring it into the physical world. And sometimes it's a step-by-step process. We start with small things and we build. So let's focus on that. Focus on grounding and manifesting, okay? So take a deep breath. Exhale. And take another deep breath. And exhale. I want you to imagine that you are an electrical circuit and you're absorbing energy from the universe. And as you do, feel all this energy flowing through your body and feel your body vibrating with all of that energy. I want you to imagine just this invisible cord just reaching out from you to the ground to ground yourself. And in the process of doing so, you feel your energy begin to balance. As your energy begins to balance, you realize the importance of this grounding. So now, instead of seeing an invisible cord, just imagine your hands or your feet. You reach out and you touch the ground. Then you feel the same effect because the energy is flowing through you and you're allowing it to channel down into the ground. And there that energy becomes grounded. Your energy becomes balanced. And as your energy becomes balanced, you're able to be more focused. You really see what that is in your mind's eye. You see the image you want to manifest into the world. And you imagine bringing that forward, seeing it in physical form. And then whatever it is, if you want to bring it into that world, find a way to make it real. Whether it's drawing it on a piece of paper to take the idea from your head to make it into the physical world, or whether it's taking a piece of clay and molding it out of clay. Or whether it's taking an idea and going out and extending oneself to follow through with that idea. Maybe to exercise, or maybe to speak to somebody you haven't spoken to, or to do something that you haven't done before. And just imagine that as the energy is grounded, it makes it very easy to be able to focus on where and how we want to use this energy. So as we go through the course of this day, let's just imagine one simple thing. Grounding our energy so we can be balanced, and then making that energy usable. So let's go through life and just think of all the ways that we can ground our energy, and imagine that energy being calm within ourselves, so we know that there is a super amount of energy available, but that we found a way to make it calm within ourselves, so we can now focus and use this energy and direct it in places we wish. So as the subconscious mind continues on that journey, let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment, happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. If we just practice a little bit every day on how to work with our energy fields, how to ground our energy, how to balance out what we're feeling, how to manifest, we'll make steps each and every day. I know that we want to, really make this happen now, right away. And sometimes we can, and sometimes we have to go through a process. But if we just take a step every day, we'll get there. The universe goes on and on. There's no rush. The universe will keep moving despite what happens down here in the physical world. So let's attune ourselves to the higher realm where things continue on and not worry about the physical. Because if we get things right up here, that energy and the feeling is going to trickle down to the physical as well. So there you have it. That's our show for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.